Peace and blessings, y'all. It's the final segment of the show, Knowledge Up Radio, the first show. So, as they say, when the ships are set, if you want to set sail to a big ship, you got to go to where the waters are deep. And so we brought some pretty heavy hitter on for the last segment. World-renowned artist right here, my man, my right-hand man. We go back a few years, man, probably over a decade now. We met under some really auspicious circumstances. I was working on some creative projects for film school. I had just ventured into that, and just so happened to bump heads with a legendary artist that, fortunately the creator brought us together for, I believe, a particular reason, because ever since then we've been creating some really outstanding stuff, and some stuff that we about to bring into the fold, into the hip-hop lexicon, one of which would be the graffiti, which I've been rocking through the segment. This is Knowledge Up Radio. There is knowledge in the middle of the graffiti, so hence the play on the situation. If y'all want to support, you like the content, you like what we're doing, this is a definite way that you could do it. You can look us up on saywordapparel.com. That's going to be up behind me. You'll see that, saywordapparel.com. But more importantly, let's get into my man Cre8. Cre8, nice to have you on the show, man. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you, my brother. Let's just give a little background about how you got into the scene. Exactly, there's different aspects, elements of hip-hop. What element you represent? Who were your influences coming up, and just give us a little backdrop about the whole scene in Los Angeles at the particular time that you and I were both coming up.
Okay, man, I was born in the early 70s, or I'm a product of the 80s. I grew up with two hip parents that was very into style and culture and dance and music and stuff like that. I would say indirectly that was my kickoff to being exposed to certain kind of music and dances and stuff like that. My parents was always up on the latest dances back then. They always watched Soul Train, and they liked the music. My dad had tons of records, and they would always be playing different things. Back then it wasn't really hip hop on the scene full at that time. You could go to the local record store and the hip hop section was small. They wasn't even a hip hop section. It was rap music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was rap music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So back then it was limited on what records was out. The only way certain records was really strong was that you had to be a strong DJ. But DJs back then, they just didn't play rap music or hip hop music. They played a variety of good music of different strong backgrounds. So it made the culture a little bit more enhanced and rich for what it was. So it gave us a little bit more cutting edge. We would listen to people like Malcolm McLaren, Buffalo Gals and Hobo Scratch. We would listen to people that wasn't particularly hip hop, like David Bowie, like Let's Dance, stuff like that. Like, people would hear that and they had a certain feel. We would listen to the Gap Band, Lakeside. The funk music, Fantastic Voyage, and you listen to the Gap Band, Don't Miss That Train, and all that stuff was a big gumbo pot of flavor and style. I grew up around that, so that slightly put a dent in a good way into who I am. Even Bob Marley, as an example, that was my first introduction to listening to music with a message. At an early age, I was 5-6 years old, I was given that record, Rastaman Vibration, as a gift. So when I heard that, I didn't know nothing about what he was talking about. I was new into the world. But I realized as I got older that the reason why I listen to good quality music now is because that set the standard of a certain sound into my ear that was planned for the future. This is what he was talking about when he was talking about knowledge. Getting into later, the dancing, watching Soul Train. I didn't know nothing about dances, I was a kid. But what caught my eye was the robot. What made that art form of dancing so special? It was because the way the body movement was, taking the body and making it make certain robotic movements that wasn't normal for everybody else to do. Once I saw other people master the craft of it to where they was really making their body look so damn mechanical, you thought they had like a robotic person on the inside of them, like they wasn't human. That's how spectacular that was.
Word.
Popping came into effect, which was a little bit more sped up or speeded up, so it was different. You saw the body hitting harder, bam, bam. Robotic was more like zzz, zzz, then the popping was like hitting to the beat hard, and stuff like that. Then later on, I became a b-boy, so I was breaking. I learned how to spin on my back. I was introduced to breaking through my uncle. One day he came into the house and he said, "Hey, y'all seen the new dance?" We like, "What new dance?" He said, "It's where you spin on your back." And he didn't know how to do it. He was just being foolish and making mockery of it, and he spent on his back. And I was like, "That's silly." But when I saw it done correctly, then I was like, "That's what's up."
Man.
Next thing you know, I'm wearing windbreakers and I'm learning how to up rock, top rock. I'm getting down on the floor doing, LA, that wasn't something that we came up with. That was more of an East Coast, New York based situation. So when I got on the floor and did it, 1984, 85 is when I was exposed to that dance form. The other stuff I was like roboting and popping, I was exposed to, and a little bit of locking. I was exposed to that like late 70s, early 80s. I didn't know what a cipher was. I remember when I was in the first grade in elementary school, we created a circle. These are what we call ciphers. And in that circle, we all took turn doing the verse of Rapper Delight from the Sugar Hill Gang. That's what we knew for what we considered to be MCing and rap music. It was interesting. All this stuff was manifested for me to be here to represent today. I didn't know how long. A lot of people they get into things as a fad. And they hear one day with it, and I'm an adult. I don't need to do that no more. I don't listen to that kind of music. I listen to R&B, which it ain't nothing wrong with it. But it irritates me to my soul when I see other people who downplay where they come from as far as with the culture. I think it's very disrespectful. Without getting too deep into that, me myself, I take a lot of value in the hip-hop movement, so I stick to it because there's a powerful source to it that goes back into our ancestors in the beginning of time when they had ciphers going on and they would do tribal dances.
Word.
When our ancestors would write on the inside of the tombs of the pyramids and do hieroglyphics, or they would just do symbols and different things
Right.
to create stuff that to make a statement. Without having to say a word, they would do visuals and formats. And this, not just our culture, but many cultures was doing this, and then people was beating on stuff to make sound. Same thing with the DJ. We take the record and make a sound. Now we became very artistic with taking the needle, putting it on two records, playing them at the same time, and learning how to make different sound effects with scratching the record. Not just doing it recklessly, but doing it with a certain rhythm and beat to make people be amazed at how it's done. So many people that come from the inner cities or the ghettos from the Bronx, from the East Coast all the way to LA.
Respect.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that art form where kids came from an area where they didn't get acknowledged for certain things. We was able to use hip-hop culture to be able to take us overseas now, or from state to state, city to cities, and have to become a instant celebrity over a period of time. A lot of people now they became very well known because of why? They got lyrical skills. They sat down and they start writing rhymes. So what's the importance of rhyme? Storytelling, talking about the reality of what's going on around you, or talking about certain conscious MCing or rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to articulate yourself and say words and stay on a certain subject and make a powerful statement with it. That right there within itself means a lot. Not too many people, they can't do that. So these are all the elements of hip hop. Our style, our fashion. He's talking about fashion, graffiti, and Lil Dunwear and stuff like that, like fashion. In the inner cities, we didn't have, like, a lot of our young people, they didn't go buy expensive clothes back then. When trendy clothes started coming out like Fila and all these sportswears, and maybe people was buying them, but you had to have a little money to buy that. That's a different subject.
Right,
But
right.
just the basic stuff, we would take Converse, Pumas, suede Pumas, Converse, Adidas, all these Nikes, and we would wear those. Those were shoes you could buy at your local surplus store, swap meets, or little low budget tennis shoe store. Or
Payless shoe store.
Payless, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
They taught like they called them sneakers back then. You know, I never used that word, but those are the people we could buy those for $19.99, and we would like wear them, and they would be stylish because the local hip person in the area would wear it so fresh. It'd make you like, I gotta go get some of those, and they would be inexpensive, but we would make it so trendy and so nice to wear that now people, it's a trip. People now are
off the strength of it, off of what hip hop did to it, they created multi-million-dollar corporations just because of how they rocked it on the block. So that's the strength, that's the power that he's alluding to. That's that energy that you could take something and it can be coming out of a nothing minus type of situation and spin it in a way to where it's a complete plus, it's a complete blessing, and it adds on. And that's just, man, you know, I'm honored, man, to have you in for the interview, because when you just got done conversing right now, you took me back to a place in time, man, in LA where they had Zodi's and you know, World on Wheels. Respect World on Wheels, man. It just closed up. Yeah, Skate Big USA, the Black Sundays at Venice Beach. Respect,
Exposition
man.
Park, the skate circle.
The skate circle at Exposition, the Crenshaw Boulevard where all the lowriders used to get down on Sunday, man. Respect, man. Respect. The days was precious, man. Like that LA experience, that coming up in that time in that era is a very unique experience, and it's something that is not replicated or duplicated today. LA is losing a lot of that. A lot of those people aren't around. A lot of those experiences aren't to be had. So if you wasn't here, if you didn't really see what it was at that particular time, you just missed out on that particular vibe. Well, yo, Cre8, man, thank you for coming through. Now let's talk to the people about what you currently got going on. Also, how they can reach you. You know, just tell the folks if there's any particular services that they might need that you. I know you're running some school programs right now where you teaching people some graphic design. Let's get into that a little bit.
Okay, we can do that. Basically, what do I do, man? I do private tutoring lessons of people who want to learn graphic design. You know, there's a need for a lot of different things, and as an artist, I have to be able to be strategic in reaching out to the people, because sometimes everybody might not want to paint. So I had to figure out a strategy on how to take myself and make it to where I'm accessible to a certain level, and if I want to be of some type of significance to the people, I have to be able to give back, but at the same time be able to help make other people grow that has the desire to grow. So what ended up happening was I go back into the schools. I like to go into the inner city schools because our people in the inner cities, they need that, man, because they took all the programs out to school. There ain't no more wood shop, electronic class, and computer class. I mean, all that stuff, they took the budget out for that. So I feel like, hey, you know, I could come in there and teach you some art, because through the art, it's therapy. Art is therapy. So through this therapy, you know, it touches the soul and the spirit, and it releases a certain vibration in the young people to say, hey, you know what? I believe in myself, I could do it. So that's one of the things I'm doing. Other things I'm doing is doing lectures. So I go in and do lectures. I'm doing that on a massive level, from the young people all the way to college kids, all the way to teachers and principals.
You was just doing something with the Gay Center and UCLA, right? Not too long ago?
I did something at UCLA not too long ago.
Okay.
Did something at the Skirball Center with some teachers.
Skirball.
I taught like about maybe, I'm guessing roughly 31 teachers about the art form of what I represent, aerosol art or urban hieroglyphics. And within, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock, by the time I was finished, man, they gave me a standing ovation, because they ain't never heard somebody break down the art form of what I represent so in depth to make them say, wow, I thought it was just about writing your name. Yes, it is, but it's deeper than that. It has a great significance behind it. Another thing that I'm doing these days is working with you and we doing projects like the graffiti. This was an interesting concept because when you came to me, it was interesting because you had an idea, but it wasn't in this format. But in your head, it was in that format. But as an artist, you gave you put words out into the universe. You gave it to me. You threw me the ball. It was my job to bounce it, draw it out, boom, 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 throw it back. And you went for the touchdown, and now it's manifested.
Word.
So that's deep. And to come up with the visuals, it was interesting because we went through a process, and this is where we at, and it's gonna get even deeper and deeper.
Exactly.
You know.
Oh, and shout out to RZA, shout out to Tam, and the whole Woo Music clique over there. I really appreciate you. Oh, shout out to Chanel Sosa. I hope you like them joints I sent you, man. Hey, yo, Tam, it'd be nice, you know, if I get maybe a couple flicks, you know what I mean, an honorable mention or something like that. You know, your brothers is on the ground level working hard. I really appreciate y'all. I really appreciate your support. Yo, shout out to Akil, the MC over there at J5. Man, I really appreciate you rocking it, going out on tour, rocking it crazy on the BBC, at the Greek Anthem Theater, man. Just the love, the respect, man. I really appreciate it. And yeah, this whole situation, the graffiti, came out of a build that we had, and it was a very unique set of circumstances that led us to that build.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of things coming on down the line, man. If y'all excited about the graffiti and what it represents, it's just the tip of the spear. It's a long spear that is leading down from there. So we're gonna keep rocking, y'all. We're gonna keep coming down the line. And thank you for your time, Cre8.
You are now rocking with Tra Hitts on Knowledge Up Radio, the place where knowledge reigns supreme. Up and over everything. Squad.